Yo, what's good, WQ family? What's fucking good, WQ family? Look, guys, I've been slapping all the haters. Slapping them. Ugh. Every single one of these haters keeps coming at me, and they keep getting the hand, dude. They keep getting the hands, and it's funny. They stopped coming at me. What is it, day 5 now, day 6 now of just winning straight? They're done, dude. No more haters. No more fake drama. Fake drama for the idiots who think I don't come at them, seriously. Who think I don't mean business. I'm not real, dude. This is what these fucking fake ass haters, they got nothing going on. No gameplay. They don't speedrun anymore. These are the guys that speedrun for fun to their friends for 6 months, and they're like, yeah, well, I still watch people speedrun. I'm gonna get back into it next year. I'm gonna play Mario 64, guys. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick up Mario 64. I think I can get a really good time in that. This is what these guys are saying. Get out of here, dude. Get out of here. And it's not enough that I'm just telling them to get the fuck out of here. But none of these guys are coming at me anymore. I chopped them all up. I chopped them up. I slid them under the grill. Kicked them in the fucking... So, yeah, not too difficult of a victory for me. Pretty easy. Pretty straightforward. But it gets more intense. It just gets better. It just gets more winning across the board, because the fact of the matter is I'm coming up with more big ideas. I'm coming up with more big ideas, more big wins. You know I'm getting better than the past. You guys know I'm getting better than the past. January, big ideas. My brain exploded. My brain completely exploded. You know I'm on fucking red line, dude. Ooh, baby, I'm on cocaine like 24/7. That's how fast I'm thinking. February I PB'd. I didn't even play the game in February, March. I didn't play the game. I had my teeth removed. I was moving. I PB'd in February. I PB'd in March. I'm not even playing the game. I PB'd in March. I'm already minus 40 seconds. I PB'd again in April. Since April, I've come up with idea after idea after idea. And when I get back in the speedrun, guys, whoo, these fake ass haters, these Mario 64 savants, these dudes are gonna get the smack so badly in the speedrun. Like, these people they don't know anything. I mean, these guys really don't know what's about to hit them. And it's, it's more than just that, guys. See, I was gonna go to this tournament yesterday, and I didn't go. It's like a $2 entry tournament. So if, let's say I go, let's say I win like what, $10, $15. I'm losing money by going to this tournament. It's like, I'm a busy person. I got shit to do. So yeah, I didn't go to the tournament, but it would have been interesting if I'd gone. And I think when October rolls around and I start going to the regular local events, we're really gonna see a completely massive change, because the big idea I've been cooking up in the past month and a half, and this actually compounds with what I came up with in the end of January. It's called natural gameplay, but this is a more macro level of it. So basically, the idea is they're basically what they could do on results. I don't know why people are doing this. Well, actually they do. It's because they want to pretend they're good. People want to pretend they're good, and so they do something, and then they pretend they can always do it. Oh, I did it, therefore I'm good, therefore I can do it, right? I need a PB to pretend I'm good at the game. It doesn't work like that. Somebody who's actually good at the game, they don't need to PB. In fact, if they don't PB, they know they're good. Like, their skill doesn't change. So they know that, right? That's what smart people do. That's what everybody's doing. They're trying to get a result, and they use the result to determine whether they can do something or not. So once I realized that in January, I was really changing my gameplay across the board. We'll fast forward a few months to August 2017, and right now, the same thing is happening, but it's happening a little bit differently. So what's happening is I do something, and then I assume I can always do it. I assume it's an automatic solution, right? So this is interesting. It's slightly different. It's the same concept, but it's a slightly different means. So I do something, or I find out something's a solution, or I find out something works, and then I assume that that's set across the board. So that's actually wrong. It's not true. And so that's holding me back a lot. So what's happening is I'm like, I need a solution. I need to get my gameplay better, right? And therefore I get my gameplay better, which I was doing during 2017, early 2017. And then because I get my gameplay better, that weird dude. Can you guys see that fucker? I don't know if you can see him. This weird ass dude. I met this dude at community college. This guy has completely insane dude. That's why I turned. I'm like, no way in hell I'm going near this fucker. So I did a fucking full 180 right there. So I find this solution So in my mind, okay, I don't need to try because now I found the solution always works, right? Well, that's cool and all, and this is what I was doing in 2017, or early 2017, which is actually how I was leveling up my gameplay. That's actually how I was improving my gameplay. But there's a problem there because what was happening is I stopped trying. Once you get there, or once I get the 124, like the pressure of getting to 123, like I got 123, you know, and then the pressure of 123 is gone. I got another 12 123s. That's not true, actually. You know, where's the logic for that? It's not real. It's made up in the brain. And so what's happening is the reason I got 13 123s in a row is because I was able to naturally improve my gameplay. And so my new skill level was 123. So I wasn't actually, it had nothing to do with pressure. So what's happening is I find a natural solution to something. And I'm like, okay, this always works. I'll just apply this, and therefore I don't need to make an attempt to make it always work. So I stopped trying across the board. So I'm actually losing, I'm playing bad the whole run. Basically, multiply this over a 90-minute speedrun, I'm losing time everywhere in the whole speedrun. And it's like, this is terrible. This is so bad how much time I'm losing over the whole speedrun. And I mean, I'm legit, this is like 45 seconds of time I'm losing every run. It's quite unreal how much time has gone. Now, this is interesting because how do you fix this problem? Well, how do you fix this problem? So this actually problem, you have to apply natural gameplay to this problem, which I was able to apply. So it's interesting, it's kind of complex, conceptually complex. And if you guys are confused, don't worry about it because I'm releasing a video soon that explains more deeply what natural gameplay is and how to apply this solution. So what I'm doing right now is applying this solution to this problem where I stop trying once I find a solution. I need to apply natural gameplay to this problem. And actually this problem doesn't stem from natural gameplay, but this problem is in line with natural gameplay. So it's the initial natural gameplay. So it's very interesting. My aim for these videos for you guys is actually not to explain to you guys exactly how something works and then you say, okay, that's how it works, now I can apply it and therefore it always works and I don't need to try anymore. Because I had a guy who was messaging me and he was saying, hey, I applied this idea, it didn't work and I just gave up. And that's okay, but see, so my argument is to take the idea, learn from the idea, grow from the idea, change your brain, and then use that and you naturally become a better player. So you don't have to try. It's the same, and this is why it's called macro natural gameplay, because this is not on a specific interaction. This has nothing to do with one specific interaction. It has nothing to do with, for example, blind, for example. I was losing a lot of time on blind in a lot of my runs. Not every run, but in a lot of runs I was losing a lot of time. So I found a natural way to do blind more efficiently and better. And so I never mess up blind. So I'm not saving time necessarily in terms of optimal, but across the board on average, I'm saving time. On good runs, I'm saving time. It's way easier. I don't have to worry about it. You know, it's just better. I don't call it micro natural gameplay. It's just called natural gameplay. But the natural gameplay argument has to be applied to a problem where the ego is preventing growth. And the ego is always preventing growth because it's easy for the ego to prevent growth because if there's a problem, if you identify a problem and then you identify something that you desire and then you say this problem is making me not get what I desire, right? So that's the ego problem where why you're not getting what you desire, it's not the problem necessarily. And so if you fix the problem, you get a completely different outcome. You don't get what you desire, right? That's what an excuse is. So how do you fix the excuse? So this is what natural gameplay solves. Initially, when I came up with in January, it only solved local interactions, small local interactions. And so now I'm applying this idea of natural gameplay to a macro level gameplay. So that's why this is macro natural gameplay. And this is what I realized. And so what's happening is when, for example, you come up with an idea like liquid gameplay, you know, I come up with an idea like liquid gameplay, a really good idea, by the way, that I still use. The idea is to not apply it and then see the benefit and they're like, okay, good, now I don't have to try anymore because I improved across the board. Right, so what that means is I'm applying a winning process to every idea, right? I'm applying, the way I think about everything is wrong. I can actually improve everything, macro natural gameplay. This actually means I'm applying natural gameplay, the idea of natural gameplay to itself. Isn't that interesting? Now, this works because the thing about natural gameplay is it's a win more process. And the only reason it works is because it's a self-proving process. So the reason it makes sense is because it works, and so therefore it's infinitely working. It's the same reason why ego theory is a part of itself, and therefore it's always a lose more process. So for example, and this is why I say unconditional and conditional, because something that's unconditional creates a process of things that are unconditional, and so something that's conditional creates a process of things that are conditional, which create processes of things that are conditional, and you get into this lose more process. So I need to do this in order to win. So I didn't do this, I didn't win. So I need to do this other thing in order to make up for this. It just starts snowballing, and there's a million examples. And it's the opposite for natural gameplay, where because you win, you found something that wins. And because you found something that wins, then you start winning more and more and more. And this is interesting. Now guys, I know those aren't good examples. Those are pretty shitty examples, but that's fine, because this is highly conceptual, and I'm going to create better examples in my more established videos. So it's the concepts matter more than the examples. Why do the rich keep getting richer? Why do poor people get poorer? Well, it's because they're poor. So they keep getting poorer. So how do they break out of this? How do they not be poor if they're ever poor? How do they, like, where there's nowhere to go? And it's the same with the rich. Well, the rich get richer. So getting rich is important, because then you get richer and you get richer and you always keep winning forever. So, interesting. No, so that's just an example. Why, and I don't think why even really matters. And I don't think the switch matters either. Because if you are, the poor get poorer, well, can you ever get rich? So what's the gain here? What do you do? And I'm not arguing that you can't ever switch, because if you're poor and you're only getting poorer, you're doomed, right? No, that's not true. It has to do with belief, what you understanding belief systems and conditions and unconditions. So what happens is you always believe in things, so people aren't going with what they believe in. And that's why they lose more. That's what starts the ego trap. That's what starts to lose more process. And so I think it's pretty obvious if anyone has ever experienced anything. Desire, for example, I want to win, so I'm not winning, so I'm going to do this because I'm promised I'll win. That's what starts this lose more process. And it's a self-feeding cycle. Because how do you, so they lose, so then they end up choking and failing, and then they're like, okay, in order to win, I need to fix what I failed. Well, this is part of the problem, right? And it creates this horrible process. So, but the thing is, they do believe in stuff, because they have a gameplay set and they're always doing stuff. So they actually obviously do believe in stuff. So basically what I'm arguing is that people need to take what they do believe in, because those are unconditional processes, and then take those unconditional processes of what they do believe in and go with that. And then that's going to create unconditional, win more processes. This is the idea of natural gameplay. And so what's interesting with this is that you can change how you think pretty simply, create new unconditional processes, because if you understand something, it's unconditional. You will do something based on what you understand unconditionally. That's why it's unconditional. This is pretty easy. This is easy. You know, so what I'm saying is, if you're not good at enough at a video game, instead of pretending that you know, I have hand problems, and you know, my parents are drinking all the time, and you know, I'm overweight. You know, people, they're saying shit like this. Instead of saying this bullshit, this is not why you're losing. And maybe actually, you know, here's the crazy thing. Maybe it is why you're losing. Maybe these really are the reasons why you're losing. Well, natural gameplay, and this is the lose more process that's created from it. Natural gameplay says, create a third variable in unconditional process derived from understanding a new belief, and use logic and use reason to create new beliefs. And then so that'll actually come in as a third variable, and it'll change the initial equation, and you'll get a completely different output. You'll get a completely different output, and then what's going to happen from that is you're going to still choke, but you're going to choke at a higher level. Now, that's really crazy. That's actually kind of revolutionary, guys. This is actually a revolution. Natural gameplay is a revolution. This is a thinking revolution, and it's completely potent. And it's more potent than what I just explained, because that whole idea, you can apply it to itself. And so that's why, that's how you can stop choking. And so what I was saying earlier, well, what happens is I start doing better. I get a solution to something, so natural gameplay, and then I assume I can apply it across the board, and then I don't have to try it anymore. So I get natural gameplay, and I apply it across the board, and then I don't have to try anymore, but you stop trying. So using natural gameplay, you can actually apply natural gameplay to itself, and then well, it's called macro natural gameplay. What does this mean? Where do you go from this? Well, it's called anxiety. What's the key factor here? It's called anxiety. So what I've been doing for the past 2 months is what I've been thinking about even when I'm not playing the game. This is a factor that changes everything. This is the third variable. How do you fix the choke? How do you fix the choke? This is the third variable that's going to fix the choke that has nothing to do with what you're dealing with, the actual events of choking and then the desired result. You need a third variable, an unconditional variable, to plug into the initial equation that's going to give you a different result, an end result, and it comes down to what anxiety is. This is why I stopped resetting, because it doesn't even matter if I do well or not do well. None of that matters. There's this anxiety factor that whenever you reset, you're forgetting about anxiety, right? So you're like, wait a minute, but I fail because of anxiety. So the thing about anxiety is there's two levels to it, or I guess there's like two kinds of anxiety, but it's ultimately the same thing. So basically if you're thinking of multiple things, it's harder to focus. So if people become nervous, right? So they become nervous and they're overthinking the problem, and then they start to get shaky, and then they get nervous and then they choke, right? So they blame the nerves, which is technically true. That's true, but it's a process. It's an effect of how you think, so it's irrelevant. But it is true, and so then they think that's true, and then they try to solve it forever, and they never get anywhere. Meanwhile, their friend next to them, Mango keeps being clutch. Well, how's Mango doing it and no one else is? So the thing about anxiety is that the other type of anxiety is like there's just straight up nerves, and then there's also you're just thinking of multiple stuff. So if your cat walks in the room, you're looking at the cat and you're thinking about doing the room. If you do something too early or you do it too late, or if you're sweating, or if your opponent does something kind of you don't expect, or it doesn't matter what exactly it is. The point is there's a million different things you can think about. There's an infinite number of things you could think about, right? So if anything happens that's slightly off pattern, you're going to start thinking about it. And this is part of the reason why, well, I guess it's not a reason why, but goes in the idea where if you do something, it doesn't mean you can always do it. So once you start realizing that, oh shit, it's not even choking that's the issue here. Choking is specific stuff, it's rare, and it doesn't really affect the end result at the end of the day, right? It's not usually that big of a deal. It sucks to always choke for like 10 years straight, I know that feeling, but ultimately you usually can, from my experience, most people are able to still get that end result, that they choke it and they're still able to get it. Not a big deal. So it's like, that doesn't really matter. You lose one frame in every screen, you lose 1 second in every dungeon, and then you lose 5 seconds in every dungeon, and you end up getting or if you ever are doing well, you get nervous and then you start doing poorly again, and then you get good, you start playing good again. So that's the problem. These are the real problems. Your end results every time is worse. Every single run, your end result is worse. Every single match of Melee, your result window is just lower than it should be, or could be. And it's lower than it could be because, you aren't a better player. So I'm arguing that, hey, we actually have to get better players. Well, how do we get better players? So let's keep going with natural gameplay, because you're going to become a better player. The big problem with like YouTube gurus and sports psychologists and all this bad gaming advice, ignore all of it. Even a lot of my gaming advice, like it's okay, but ultimately it's kind of ignorable because it's an answer, but it's not a solution. Where you have a problem and you don't need an answer, because if you plug an answer into your problem, you get an arbitrary answer. That's not good. So you need a solution. You have a problem and you need a solution. What I'm offering in this video and natural gameplay, what it is, it's an actual solution that you have to figure out on your own, but it's finding that I'm giving the answer of that solution. So I'm not even giving the answer. So I don't actually know how to not choke. I have no idea how. But what I do know how is that anxiety affects the gameplay process, and your gameplay is not suited to adapt to anxiety. It's not suited for a broad variety of different possible anxiety situations. So what's going to happen is you do something or you get comfortable doing something, and this is what liquid gameplay is, only do what you can do. So once I figure out what I can do, then I'm settled with it, then I figure it's good to go. Well, that in itself is wrong, because if I figure out something I can do, what if I can't do it again later, or if I'm under different anxiety? So you have to find a way to macro it. And then, so what's happening is, what I'm doing is, I'm figuring out what I think I can do, but hey, wait a minute, what about anxiety? So now I have to go through the game and practice, and I need to go through the game and practice and figure out specific interactions and specific scenarios that circumvent anxiety through the gameplay. Circumvent anxiety through the gameplay, not through what I think should happen, not through defining a result and then decide that the result defines what I'm doing. I need to circumvent anxiety through finding a consistent, reliable, completely natural sequence, and then what's going to happen is across the game, I'm actually going to start improving. So for me, on my own personal level, it's really important that I keep doing no reset runs, and I keep practicing and evaluating not only when I mess up, but exactly why I mess up. Because even though those anxiety factors of why I messed up, I can't alter them in the future. I can't redo those situations. That's one interesting thing about anxiety, is it's always different, or it's mostly always a different anxiety factor in a different time and point in time. So you have one speedrun that's identical every time, but then there's a million different variations of that based on your anxiety levels. And then there's RNG, so it becomes a highly complex process. So you need gameplay that's going to be able to address every variation of each interaction every time consistently. And this is obvious. I mean, this is pretty obvious stuff once you think about it. Once you start to address anxiety and think about anxiety, then this actually becomes very obvious and very straightforward. And it's really interesting because it's coming back to this idea where I'm actually taking natural gameplay and I'm applying natural gameplay to itself, and then you get macro natural gameplay. And then once you think about anxiety, and it's interesting, guys, go back and watch my no reset run video. What was I saying? Why did I start doing no reset runs? Because every time you finish a run, it's a natural solution to the game. You actually did solve the game through the anxiety factors, so it's a no excuse solution. Well, what that means is if you go from there, that's how you can start to adjust anxiety. And it's pretty interesting stuff. In 2015, when I got really depressed and I was gonna jump off a bridge, this is where I sat when I called the school counselor. I gave him a dial, I did a little ring-a-ling-a-ding to the school counselor, and honestly, guys, the school counselor was kind of a joke. I'm not sure he helped me out. He gave me some good, simple, natural ideas to help out my specific anxiety problems, but honestly, guys, ultimately, who gives a shit? If you can't fix the underlying brain structure, the underlying problems, then what's the issue, right? What are you going to solve? Now, I was able to solve that on my own. I was able to come up with those ideas and solve that on my own. And this was in 2015, mid-2015, and then in 2016, early 2016, that's when Downtown Death started cheating. And it's interesting because in mid-2015, one of these things I realized I needed to do was tell the past community that you guys are fucking jokes and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. But I didn't need to tell them that necessarily. I had to tell myself that. And that's something that I actually did do, and I stopped talking to these people, I stopped interacting with them, and I started living a happier, more free life. And actually, I also told Nikki that she was a great person, and that's another thing that was really important for me. She actually blocked me as a result of that, but if you think about it, that's the first unconditional thing I really did in my life. And I finally told her something that didn't care about what the response was. I just told her what I really believed in, and I got a response. And it's interesting because I did that, it created an unconditional process where she blocked me, and then I decided that, if I really want to change people and change people's lives and improve people's lives, I need to address the problems in myself, and then I need to help other people out. I need to make that forward effort to help other people out. So if I had not messaged her that, it's very likely I would have never made a YouTube channel. I would have never tried to help you guys out. And truthfully, it's very likely I would have never came up with natural gameplay, because what happened in 2016 when Downtown Death started spicing runs? Well, I already had decided that I'm going to get out of my bubble. I'm going to start helping people out, and I'm going to start thinking creatively. So when he started spicing runs, I was fully prepared to be myself and address this problem correctly and actually help improve the game and help the problem in the community and not try to cover it up because I'm insecure. And this is what the class community did. They decided to cover it up. But even through that, I decided to make the right decisions and continue to make the right decisions. And in 2017, I came up with natural gameplay. See, I never really understood why I didn't need this bullshit, but when I came up with natural gameplay, I realized, oh my God, this all makes sense. Let's go back to every interaction. This all makes so much sense. And that's the thing about natural gameplay. You don't actually have to understand it to apply it, because it just comes down to making an unconditional action that you get an unconditional process out of. So it was interesting about natural gameplay is that you could start applying that across the board. Be like, oh, I need an unconditional action here to, or an unconditional belief here too, which actually all beliefs are unconditional. I need an unconditional belief here to change the end result and get a better end result even through the problem, right? And then the problem itself will go away as a result. That's pretty interesting. And then that's what's happening, guys. Even now, later in 2017, I'm applying natural gameplay to itself. And I'm not here to brag. I'm not here to brag about my own gameplay ideas, guys. I'm not here to brag about my own gameplay accomplishments, even though my gameplay accomplishments are pretty fucking nuts. I'm not going to brag about that. But if I'm actually correct, like, the thing about my arguments is they're dependent on logic. So if I'm logically not right about the argument, then the whole thing collapses. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Everybody's going to know I'm wrong and I'll fail, and that's what it's going to be. But if I'm right, we're going to see some really, really, really crazy gameplay come out of me. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, wow, this is crazy. This is completely nuts. And I'm aware that WQ is like kind of a monster when the game comes to the game, but this is like a completely different level of monstrosity. And honest to God, guys, that would be nuts for me. And that would be nuts for me primarily because it would be good for Link to Pass. Like, if I can help improve Link to Pass, then we're good across the board. But yeah, guys, natural gameplay is such an interesting idea, and there's so much to do with it. There's so much you can think about. And I'm going to come out with a video, I don't know, maybe this next week, maybe a month from now, maybe tomorrow, coming out about specifically the underlying fundamental ideas of natural gameplay, why it works, what it's aiming to solve, and it's going to be a little bit more logic-based, mathematical-based, and a little bit less examples, and a little bit less trying to get people to think about ideas. Like, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I want you guys to think about ideas so that you can improve your gameplay, come up with your own ideas. It's going to be a little bit more like, hey, here's a logical problem that's happening, and here's a logical way to get a different result, which could end up being a solution. Because the thing about liquid gameplay is that it in itself is fallacious because it's an effect. So it's sort of something you can ignore for that reason, which is annoying. But so what do you do with it, and where can you go with it? And you really can't do or go anywhere with it, which is kind of a problem. But that's the point of macro natural gameplay, because it would actually solve this problem. Because that problem applies to everything, and that's actually what natural gameplay is and solves. It's this ego problem that is across the board, and once you keep going deeper into a circle. Well, everything's an effect of my ego. Even ego theory is an effect of my ego. So where do I go? What do I do with this? So you get stuck in this loop. Well, now what? Well, then I came out with natural gameplay that had nothing to do with ego theory, but it solved it anyway, which is crazy. But then now I'm doing stuff like liquid gameplay. It's like, hey, it's not the same ego trap, but it is still an ego trap. And then it's a self-repeating ego trap where everything's an effect. If everything's an effect, then how do you do anything? How do you solve or attain anything? And it's like, hey, wait a minute. It does come back to the idea where everything's an effect, everything's a process. You don't control any of it. But since you do stuff, right, because you have beliefs, you do stuff, processes happen and effects happen. And then if you think about this a little bit, it comes to this idea that if you don't control anything, then nothing, you can't actually reliably do anything. So if you find something that you can consistently, naturally recreate, well, you still don't control it. So if you assume that you can always do it under any circumstance, well, now apply anxiety, and then there's a lot of circumstances where it's going to F you over. So it's pretty basic if you look at that. What I need to do for practice is I just need to go through the game and do some ILs, and then when I mess up specific areas, don't adjust the anxiety and then fix the anxiety and then fix the IL. That's what people are doing. And that's why people don't practice correctly. All I need to do is create different ways to do it or different ways to approach it. And I'm gonna get way better, like, instantly. It's gonna be pretty nuts. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. WQ out. Pretty great vlog about gameplay ideas, gameplay stuff, speedrun ideas. This is heavily focused on the speedrun. This is heavily designed for the speedrun. Yeah, you can apply this to League. Yeah, you can apply it to Melee. I don't care. I'm looking at a speedrun right now. I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at a timer. I'm looking at the same constructed way to do a run 1,000 times in a row, addressing that, addressing anxiety. Why does it change? Why do certain people do things than other people? Why do two people go in the exact same situation? They both have a fundamental difference in the way they approach it, and one person reliably, consistently comes out better. What's going on here? It's in the speed run, and it's coming at you directly from WQ. Anyway, guys, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you slap the subscribe button. Slap this fucking subscribe button. Slap the like button, too. Slap a comment, and then every hater in the comments, get the fuck out of my stream, okay? And tell these haters to fuck off. Because the WQ army is too big, too dedicated, too strong, too reliable. We're too fucking good, guys, and I'll see you guys later.